technical guys are holding us up, but it's okay. Okay. So, thanks for coming to our presentation. This is a presentation of Saga. My name is Nebojša Bjelotomić. I'm a CEO of Saga. And the very difficult moment for me was when they told me that I'm going to speak to this presentation, because our original thought was that we were going to send one of the engineers who's going to talk about some of great projects that we do, and they will talk to you guys and talk your language. And then they tell me, no, there is a business track, and it's up to you to have the presentation. And then, since then, for several weeks, I was, breaking my head of what should I talk to you and actually make it worth your time to come and hear our presentation. So, in general, we want to tell you a bit about experiences that we had in last decade or so, and things that I think can relate to you and some of your interests. Probably if you know about Saga, you have the question, why is this dinosaur system integrator talking to the development conference? What the hell are these guys doing? Is this just a marketing trick? What are they doing? There is no customers. Are they trying to recruit? What's the point? Well, the truth is, we are a 30-year-old company, and since we have these decades behind us, maybe we don't fit so much with all other companies that are barely 10 years old or several months old. But we have the same experience that most of you guys who are trying to start ups or who are working in small companies have, except that we kept going this over and over and over and over, because as we all are witnesses in IT, things change very fast, and 3 to 5 years is an entire era. So I would say that in 30 years we had at least 6 or 7 cycles. So presentation today is supposed to cover 3 topics that I thought might be interested for you and that are very, very hot with our company as well. First one is, we have knowledge. We know something. We know it really well. Is it a programming language, procedures, or just some specific knowledge about industry? Well, from knowledge to a product is a really, really, really long way. And it's a lot of pitfalls and chances that you meet along this way. And there is not a right path. There is many different paths, and I was thinking about sharing some of our experiences and how this process happens in our company. Another topic that I wanted to share with you is financing. So as you might know, Saga was sold to investment fund some now 8-9 years ago, and since then Saga itself went through a lot of changes, and we learned a lot about what the investor wants and how they operate and what these funds are all about. I can add on the other side my personal experience, because I studied in States in Boston University. So, and originally I was an engineer in biotech. So I finished biomedical engineering, and at that time it was all about DNA and map of genes. And actually my thesis at the time was annealing of DNA for DNA chips. And then I started working at a startup company that was dealing with protein chips, and it was at the time in the first round of financing, and I was with this company until the second round of financing. Then I figured out I don't like living in the United States, and I came back and I became a salesperson and then later on manager. So I gave up on my engineering. But from there on, let's say in the last 20 years that I've been around the block, I went through different phases of the companies, and all along I met the financing people and hear from them what they expect from technical or engineering companies. So that's another topic that I want to cover with you. And then founder's dilemma. Let's say that we look fast forward through all the problems of creating the product, making a company, financing it, and then you come to the point of, do I sell or do I don't sell? And actually it's a quite interesting story, and there's a lot of papers about this topic. But if you come from Saga, there is a really a good story from the first person about our founders and the fund that bought us and what was going on in the last 4 or 5 years. And I was about to share some of these goodies of inside story. So back to, let's say, a first subject. So in my daily dealings with engineers, you always find this problem of we know and they don't know. Typical engineer will tell you that the engineer can do everything, but no other people can be engineers. And there you have a first barrier. And then you start talking to them about, okay, so what we're going to do to with your knowledge, how we are going to commercialize it, how I'm going to pay you a salary. You start that, and then I build another barrier because I start talking about money. And engineers it's not about money, it's about ideas, and it's about exchanging the ideas and growing and building great things. And then we go into philosophy. But at the bottom, you have to build something and you have to sell something. And what I'm going to try to do, at least in my first part of this presentation, is try to convince you that selling is not bad. Word sales in many cultures have a very negative connotation. Actually, when my father gets really angry with me, he tells me I'm a salesperson. That's it. That's how he draws the red line. And after that, I don't talk to him because I know he's way too pissed to continue conversation. And he, underneath that is that all these applications, you've been an engineer, you should have been a PhD, and you should have been working in a lab doing something cool. Instead, you're selling things to people. Where, when you talk to other engineers, selling and cheating, that's somehow, it's there. It's not completely a separate things. And that's not true. I mean, you can everything you do, you can do it in a bad way. So selling is a good thing. You need sales. You need sales. Doesn't matter what you do. You need sales, and that's going to be my mantra for at least first 15 minutes of this talk. So that's what I say. We know, and then somehow we go along the line, and they buy, and that's very important. And in my opinion, whatever you build, it's not about do you like it or do you feel good about it. It's an important part of the whole process. But in the end, somebody wants to separate themselves from some value and to give it to you for the product or service or game or whatever you made. And I do believe that in the thought process of what I'm going to do and how I'm going to approach this whole idea of building something, either a product, a piece of code, or a company, you should think about people that you are going to approach to, exchange value for what are you building. And I think that this helps the whole process of making your task or making your efforts more successful. And in the end, I don't buy the thing that you're doing it just for sake of doing it. We all want to be successful. We want to be recognized. We want other people to at least like, if not adore, what we do. So if you think about these people who are at the end of the process, at the beginning of your thought process, you help yourself, and in the end you are more successful. So in reality, we know they buy is not a straight line. It's a really curvy road of how you get there, and it doesn't matter how long you are in industry, and it doesn't matter how many successful projects you had in the past. When you sit down with engineers, it's a curvy road of getting from their knowledge to making something countable. So lately, we are talking about big data, then you go into BI, then you go into machine learning, data learning, and then you get these guys, and usually these guys are database guys who are very good at handling a lot of information, but throughout the history in three-layer, these are the middle guys, so not the guys who are in front. And most of the time, these guys, today's BI guys, are yesterday database guys, and they are not used to seeing customer, or they're not used to talking about customer. And my favorite line is that when I talk to my BI, which in Saga we have, and I tell them, okay, what we are going to build and what we are going to sell to the customers, they tell me, bring somebody to tell us what they want, and we will make it. Trust me, we can do it. And I'm just like, wait, that's not how it works. If they know what they want, they will go to their friends, cousins, previous partners. They will not come to us. They are coming to us because they're not sure what they want. They look at the internet, they read, and they say, okay, big data, Internet of Things. You have a lot of data. You can monetize this data, but they know how to do it. So you need to help them, do this. So then we go to first presentation. I made a huge mistake. I didn't look at the presentation of our engineer. It starts with algorithm, another algorithm, another algorithm. We're in the bank. We're talking to the head of their retail. The guy is like I don't know if you ever looked how the in the gasoline station, the pump measures, there is like a thing that turns around, and this guy is like turning faster and faster. And I thought the guy is going to like have an epileptic attack or something like that, and my guy is going, and he's like, you know, he's at his best in his head, you know. And at some point I say, can you skip this? And then, you know, we have argument right in front of a customer. He's like, no, but I want to show them that I know, so that they trust me that I do this for them. And I say, what to do for them? They will tell me, you know. And the guy looks at him and says, to tell you what? And then we hear the great story, because it's one of the banks here in Serbia, and they tell us, listen, every salary that comes to our account is something that, you know, it's enough for paying the basic bills. So I don't need the BI to tell me what my customers are going to do with their money. You know, I mean, do you have something more interesting for me that I can, you know, speed up my processes or acquire more customers or whatever? I don't need you to analyze my data, because I know you're not going to get what I want from my data. And my guy was like, problem. And then we, you know, try to save the face and exit there without, you know, too much negative publicity coming out of that meeting, you know. And then we sit together and we start thinking about, you know, what to do and how to do, and you know, how to make the whole process work of, you know, we know and they buy. And then we say, okay, let's think, you know, how to get to their level, you know. You know, these guys are smart. I mean, when I say these guys, the guys with the money, the guys who want to exchange value with you. So they will read something, they will look into something, they will look into data, especially if you put it to their level. So, you know, you can make a case. You know, you write something about what can be done with your knowledge. But you have to talk about his business. You don't talk about your knowledge, you talk about his business. Then you can do proof of concept, which, you know, everybody likes. You know, generally, you know, IT guys like to see new things. You approach the let's say core business, and you agree that you're going to do a proof of concept. So, you know, it's a difficult, you know. Again, typical engineer comes and says, wait, but we cannot make a whole project just to prove it's going to work. You know, you have to somehow make a small sample piece, something effective that can be shown as a concept. That's a word, you know. It's not a whole project, it's a concept. And then if you pass that, then you can go into a pilot where you already can maybe even talk about some money and exchange, you know, a value with your customer, because through proof of concept you bought their interest, and in the pilot phase you can maybe blow a bit of your development people and really engage them into developing of at least the first parts of the project or separate parts of the project. So what I'm trying to say is that there is no straight line from we know they buy. You have to somehow devise the steps. These are general steps, maybe even too academic, but you cannot expect somebody to recognize your greatness. You have to convince them that this is what they need, and you have to get down to the let's say emotional level of what they need. So in general, another thing to consider is that we all want to make a product. We all dream about something that is completely packaged to the level of marketing agency coming in and you know, marketing it to the people as a great thing that they want to buy. Another thing that you can consider is that you can sell man-days, meaning that, you know, once you prove yourself as a knowledgeable person or a knowledgeable group of guys, you know, you can go there and, you know, try to be consultants. Okay, now I know I'm reaching, you know, you are 20 something, or you know, self-employed, and you go to some big industry and knock on the door of, I don't know, insurance company saying, you know, hire me as a consultant. And it's how do you believe in that story by yourself? And then we go back to this, you know, proving yourself, making a pilot project, having a case. Actually, believe it or not, if you go into the financing and whole conversation about money, you know, these guys actually would like to hire as a man-days rather than buying a pilot, because, you know, once they have you as a man-days, you are what they call OPEX, one-time cost, that they know exactly how much they pay you and you know what they're going to get out of it. And that what they get out of it is not very difficult for accounting. You know, if they buy your product, they go into this whole mess of about, you know, how they put it in their books, how they do depreciation, and it's complicated for them, trust me. So, you know, having a man-days purchase from you is actually not such a difficult proposition. It's just you have to have audacity to believe in yourself that you can sell these man-days, this, let's say, consultative work. And if you know something specific and and you are sure yourself, it will fly. And this is what is beautiful about what we do here, and why engineers are, and generally IT is great. IT in last quarter of the century really went into every pore of society or economics, but people are still afraid of it a bit. It's, in my opinion, it's like the same thing as electricity. Everybody is using it, but it's something that can kill you. So in many ways, these financing people, or at least non-engineering people, consider IT the same thing. It helps you, but it can kill you, because it can crash, it can lose your data, it can stop your business. So in that sense, you show in front of them and you're knowledgeable, you can sell yourself, and that's a good proposition. It's a good start. So don't be afraid to try to be consultant, and through that way get into the customer before you try to sell them a product. So if I didn't iterate enough that selling is not bad, let me try it with this slide. So selling is not dark art. Selling is not bad. Selling is not peddling something that people don't want. It's just you communicate about your knowledge, your experiences, something that you know and that assumably other people don't know or they need. So if you are starting a company, or you have a group of guys who are thinking of going into that direction, it's good to have somebody who you are going to consider as your go-to guy to go to the market, because you cannot be aliens in a sense of we have this great story and then somebody will come and recognize it. You have to think from very early goings of how you get to the market, who is going to talk in front of you. And as everything in Latin, there is this repetitio mater studiorum est, repetition is the mother of study. So the more you do something, the better you are at it. And they're natural salespeople, and they're natural people who can go and talk to other people and sell them. But in general, this is also something that you keep going through the process, and over time you feel more comfortable with the process. And that's why I say, if you have a group of guys going into something in terms of development or building, let's have someone who is going to be the guy who does that over and over and over, and hopefully by the time you're ready to actually engage into talk about financing, market, sales, you have one guy who is talking that language. And I think that's a good approach. So I honestly do believe that engineers can sell to other people, not to themselves, and they have to really, really try. They want to try. It's not something that just happens. It needs, let's say, you need to be willing to do that and to engage with this. So your knowledge is important, no doubt about it. I hope that I didn't, at any point say that knowledge is not important. It's very important, and it's key. Without it, you cannot go anywhere. But the key is what customer needs. And you have to think about customer needs, not just about your knowledge. And that is very, very, very important. I cannot stress how important it is. Very often you will come from some point of, you love your ideas, you love what you think you can make with your experiences, but if you go to this point about thinking of market and commercialization, then you have to envision who is going to be your customer and what are his or she's needs, and try to engage and to get to that level of conversation. So good practice is that in general you learn from the first customer. So your first customer is going to be your ground for making mistakes and learning. And actually, very often your first customer will know he's your first customer, and he will take chances, and that's okay. The thing is that he will probably discount you in a sense of what he's paying you, or he will probably try to keep part of your code or whatever. They'll try to play things. You have to be smart, but in general, don't beat yourself about being perfect first time. Nobody's perfect first time. There is movies about that. So the thing is that with first customer, it's your learning experience and learn from them, and the whole goal is that then you sell to the others. Then when you go to the others, you can sell, and then you go into that, let's say, professional level. Don't try, they say that the worst marketing is a good marketing for bad product. So if it's your first time that you're selling your code or your game or whatever, and don't try to make it like you've been doing that hundreds of times. Actually, what worked for me for a long time is that when I started, most of the time I would go talk to the people who are the age of my parents, and then I didn't try to convince them that I'm at their level. I tried to play it out as their kid, and they would start treating me as their kid, and then somehow they drop the guard, and suddenly I'm not the guy across the table. I'm somebody they may even want to consider helping. So that is not a bad approach. You don't have to be perfect in the first time. Use it as a learning experience, and then improve your game. And then there's for the closing of this first part, I chose this one quote that I like very much. Actually, this guy is a military genius from the end of 19th century that did the most of ordering of a German army that was what it was in the better part of 20th century. And you would think the Germans plan everything, and the strategy is very important, and yet one of the better known saying of this guy is that no campaign plan survives the first contact with the enemy, which means that you plan, and then you go into the battlefield, and then whatever you planned gets destroyed in the first minute of the battle. So what I'm trying to say with this quote to you guys is that don't sit too much somewhere, wherever that is, in incubator or your room, or whatever you choose to be your ground for development. Go out immediately. Go out, talk to people. Test your ideas, test the first lines of your code, test the beta versions, get feedback immediately, because it doesn't matter how detailed you plan and how good your strategy. The first, in this case, your customer is your enemy, because you try to win him over. If in the first contact with the customer, it will somehow go awry. It somehow will not work out as you plan. And actually, the more you spend time in some clean room just with your thoughts, the more lost you're going to be when you get in the first contact with the potential customer. So the more you are in touch with the market at any point of your development, the better you will fare when it comes to real moments. So that's my story about sales not being bad, and why you should think about sales even when you're starting with whatever projects you are starting with. In general, this is, let's say, introduction to another part, and that is financing. When you think about financing, the whole idea about getting somebody to help you in terms of financing is not just to get money so that you can get to the next phase. Actually, what funds provide to you is in many ways a knowledge about market. So everybody expects you to be engineers that are masters of what you work on. So it's okay to get help for any other facet of business. So when you come to financing, at least to my knowledge, these three are, let's say, generally accepted as levels of finance. I mean, there are left and right maybe in options, but in general you can get a capital. You can get an angel capital. You can then go to venture capitalists for first, second, third, whatever rounds you can get. And then in the past, the holy grail was IPO. What I have to share with you in this line of financing is that let's say 20 years ago or late 90s, early 200s, was that IPO was it. The whole point was to go public and to be on some whatever floor announcing that you are out there with some public shares trading and so on. And actually what I noticed that in last decade or so, actually since 2008, I can probably put the flag there, change, is that IPO is not something that people dream about, because IPO is very difficult. You start going to the bankers, you start going to people who ask a lot of different questions. It's a huge group of people that you have to do what they call dog and pony show. You have to prove that you are a good company. You have to have everything in order. By the time you come to IPO, they expect you to have experienced CEO, good financing. It's an incredible task of getting to this point. And what I've seen in the last decade that is happening a lot is that you find a big technology company that's a bit lost about what's going on in the market. And trust me, there is a lot of them. You can put in that bag most of multinational companies that we admired for better part of last century. So all the guys with 2 letters, 3 letters, not to be nasty to them, are lost. What is cloud, how to deal with the cloud, what are digital transformations, what I can do there, who is buying my iron, who is buying my databases, what I license. They are lost, but they have tons of money yet. So they go around looking for guys with nice projects and nice ideas, and they buy them. So you have different approaches. You look at HP, and they went out, and if you're not selling yourself for billions of dollars, they don't even talk to you. But you go to IBM, and then you will see that they buy from couple of millions to some, I don't know, 40, 50 millions, but they on quarterly level buy some tens of companies. So it's not simple, but it's doable. And let's say this is the end game. So let's take it out of Rome immediately. This is when you are really, really serious and what you can do. What probably is more logical to talk about is this angel capital and how to get to it. And actually, I get surprised of how people very quickly discount some things here in Serbia. We have a tendency of thinking that we know the best, and not only in Serbia, but I can actually add this to Balkans, because my previous position was that I was running a multinational company in 10 countries of Balkans. So trust me, you've seen it all on this neck of the woods. And it's very similar way of thinking. And we tend to discount something that is very good. If you look at the starts of all these giants of today's, let's say, technology world, Amazon, Google's, Apple, and so on, first serious money they got from government, literally. You will hear a lot from Americans talking about free market capital and so on and so on and so on, but then you look at these giants, and then you look at the first financing that they got. It's some development fund, some SMB fund, whatever, and it was really coming from government. And you will be surprised, but even in Balkan countries, governments are having these funds. Okay, I think that Apple first fund was $500,000 that they got from government. So you will not get $500,000 anywhere in the Balkans. But you can get, and I'm serious about, you can get 30,000, 50,000. It's possible. And it's not actually that you need, to become a member of the party anywhere in these, funny countries of ours. But literally you have to be well informed, follow it, what's happening, and look for it. My good recommendation is in Serbia, this unemployment agency is from time to time have donors who run programs like this. It's not anywhere public. It goes quickly, but it's possible to get it. There are some strings attached, but these strings usually are not well thought of, and they don't bind you too bad. Another good point for this angel capital is diaspora. So now I'm talking from the point of the guy who lived 7 years abroad, and is one of the few who came back. Actually, my favorite sad story is that since I was studying in Boston, and MIT, has a great sports facility, but as you can imagine, people at MIT don't do much sports. Guys from Balkans were playing basketball at their courts, because it's easy to access and nobody plays. And we used to play 5-on-5 basketball, and there was usually at least 4 to 5 teams. Out of this group, I think 2 or 3 guys came back, in the sense of came back to live back in Balkans and not staying anywhere. Except one guy did a great thing. He was somewhere from the coast of Dalmatia, and he organized his village to start making pomenada, which is like a grinded olives or something like that. And even though he's MIT engineers, he caught the way of craze for the healthy food, and he's exporting this pomenada to all East Coast United States, lives in Miami, has a Dalmatian restaurant, and he fared the best of all the guys. So, as an engineer, you don't have to just do the code or do engineering. You know, Pomenada, if it works for you, is fine. But anyway, back to finance. Most of these guys who stayed out there are, you know, let's say well off. You know, they're okay, and they get organized not for sake of, you know, nostalgia or for sake of, you know, whatever, you know, good human thoughts. They got organized into these angel funds, and I'm not joking. I know 3 of these groups, informal groups, where every person pitches in $10,000 or $20,000, and for some professional in states that we're not talking about huge money, even you get a tax reduction if you do this officially. And then you find one guy who is your point man, and he tries to distribute these angel funds. And they, in general, function in a way where, you know, they expect if you come to some investment fund and they start investing into you, that they get money out immediately. So that if they give you, I don't know, $50,000, they will get back, I don't know, 60 or 70 when you find a fund. So this is the fair proposition. Funds actually, when they see this, takes you more seriously, and you know, this is I think a good way to get to the angel capital. And then there are companies. Again, story from my past, when I started in biotech company that was developing protein chips. It was founded by 3 professors, and these guys had some, you know, very good technologies at the time for what this was called protein evolution, or actually from the database of protein, actually to choose the right protein that binds to the certain other protein. And this was it is still strong diagnostic tool. So for example, if you want to cure cancers, you know, you find what blocks receptors for proven pathways, protein pathways for the cancer development. And they did some novel technologies in this area. And what happens is Adventis at that time approached them, gave them $30 million over 5 years, $1 million, and tell them, can you know, further your study? And I was there for 3rd, 4th, and 5th year of development. And in 5th year, I remember Dirk and Uwe came and spent about a month with us, shadowed us at what we're doing, and, you know, said, you know, you're a great group of guys, and went back to Germany. And then management got a letter saying Aventis is not thinking anymore about going into biological medicine, but rather into some other direction. Thank you for cooperation with us. And that was it. Okay, we ran into a problem. Okay, let's find a new financing. And then it was a very difficult path of finding a second round of financing. But what I'm trying to say is that there are companies out there that might find your way of thinking interesting and put you in some what they call a development pipeline of their projects, and give you some serious money for this. Because, you know, talking to these guys back at the time, these 5-6 million a year was for them nothing. It was a part of some multi-billion-dollar R&D where they say, okay, this much we are going to give to our scientists, and then this much we are going to disperse to various groups. Actually, it was the funny thing, and you said, now think, okay, this guy was in the United States and he's telling us this story here in, you know, New Belgrade. But in June, Saga was financing, or actually was part of the conference for BI at the Faculty of Organization Studies here in Belgrade. And the funny thing is that we gave the money for you know, lunch and dinner. You know, it wasn't, we gave the smaller part of money. The better part of money came from American Naval Research Office. So these guys, you know, get money to finance conferences and other things around the world where, you know, they want to see how people think on certain topics. So they organized the event here in Belgrade, where most of the presenters were from Balkans, to just show their study about BI and data science topics. Of course, you know, there are some people from Balkans involved in this process, but in general, these guys do this all over the world. So what I'm again trying to point out, you know, if you reach out, if you think in different directions, there are money out there that you can, you know, easily find. And now, since I am working for the company that is a commercial oriented, and we are owned by fund, I felt obliged to give you an example of what our fund that bought Saga is actually doing. So Usually these guys for funds, they have some topic, you know, they don't just fund good ideas. They find the group of ideas that they like. Nowadays digital economy is something that is hot, security something that is really hot. Security is a big topic, so you pretend that you develop a software for security, the guy will probably flock to you. And there are now numerous funds who are trying to make portfolio investments into security products. Digital economy is still something that is very interesting. When I say digital economy, that means doing this digital transformation and opening the channels from, you know, typical sales channels when you have today to these digital channels where you can do your business online. And you might think that what is out there to digitize further, and then you think the following, you take the following example. So you guys know about Facebook, Viber, WhatsApp. How many of you heard about WeChat? Excellent. So I don't know how impressed you are with them, but I'm mightily impressed. So, okay, there is a political part of the story. So Chinese people said, okay, we don't let these guys that I mentioned first to come and, you know, use in between our people. We don't want any Chinese Spring or whatever, but we understand that we have to make some messaging platform for China, and they made the WeChat. And they made the WeChat in 2012. And why I'm telling this story, because it was a typical, you know, messaging service, very much like Viber and Facebook. And then in 2014, for Chinese New Year, this guy did something revolutionary. They say, don't send present for New Year to your cousins and friends because it's a huge logistics. They get lost and whatever. Just send them some money through our service so they can buy something. And two years ago, they started with this financing part of their messaging application, and nowadays actually people pay more with WeChat than with their credit cards in China, because they have, let's say, I mean, I'm translating this to myself, they have their own currency that you exchange, and they build some hundreds of thousands of e-commerce sites where through this application you can sell things, and you can exchange values, and you can change the money. And actually they convince people something that is like a holy grail to every bank in Western world. They convince people to give them their credentials of their credit cards. So you pay with your phone through WeChat application if you are in the store. So it's an equivalent of the e-wallet. Again, why I'm saying this story, because there's huge way to go. Yesterday I talked to Viber guys about how we are going to actually use the fact that in Serbia there is 3.2 million users of Viber. In regions of Southeast Europe there is 33 million users. Around the world there is 800 million of users. So there is a platform with a lot of people come. So for type of guys like myself, how I engage these people to spend money. And this is what the New Frontier Group is trying to do. How we engage people to spend money through digital platforms. Except that this group of people are seniors with a lot of experience and apparently a lot of money as well. So they come and they finance you, and they have something what they call super smart money. And when they give you financing, what further they do for you is that you become part of their network. Currently there's 14 companies in this network. Generally this is like Eastern Europe and Russia. And first of all you start exchanging knowledge of between these companies. And okay, so you think, okay, Saga is having 50 million euros revenue and has 300-400 people, and of course these guys are going to look for Saga. But actually this guy bought a company in Bulgaria that was a few guys working on gamification products for portals, so that product get included into product of another company for, let's say, HR matters, so that when you have a portal for HR, it's not boring what you think about our company, do you hate CEO, or what you think about coffee, but rather that you make a product that is like a gamification HR internal portal. So it doesn't matter what's the size of the company, investment funds, if it's a good idea, will look into you. And then you connect to the markets through these other companies in the group, and you get financial security because they finance you that, whoa, I've been talking a while, huh? So thanks. So this is a whole matter of they give you know-how how to function at the on the market and function with the customer. So what I can tell you about financing is do not die trying. It's not point. You know, you fail many times before you succeed, and failing is okay. Failing, you know, I played rugby when I was a kid, so you know, in rugby they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Break something, but you know, it's okay. You're looking at what is fine. So become part of this whole story about of you very you are very important people, hold the shop. And then somebody comes out, and I actually know the experience of this data company in Bulgaria. They had a very good product for, and this consulting company from UK came and said, okay, we need to include with our offer, and they gave a lot of money to founder, and you know, the guy was very happy. In the evening, in the morning, he came to work. They packed his stuff, his table, and said, thank you, don't come anymore on our premises. He's like, well, but how? No, we don't want you anymore on our premises. Literally from the day one when they took ownership, they told the guy, don't come to the premises. If you want to meet us, let's go have a lunch. We're going to talk to you, but we don't want you to be in touch anymore with development teams, with anything in the company. We took the picture of your company, we see what is good, what is bad, and we think your influence is not needed. They probably didn't want to tell him that his influence is not what they want. So, you know, you get into problem when you sell your companies, and it's quite important before you get to the point of financing and talk about sales or whatever, to be clear about your expectations. And this is where I come to talk about Saga. So Saga had 3 major owners, and for better part of their lives they've been Saga. You know, you can take them out of Saga, you can't take Saga out of them. So when these new frontier guys came and bought a company, they had a real issue about what they're going to do to it themselves. And that what happened in the next 5 years of this change of ownership structure is that company was having really hard time, because most of the energy of owners and which was in the same time management of the company went into internal strife. You know, who is going to make decision, who is going to influence people, who is going to, you know, make financial ledgers. So, you know, at some point, you know, obviously somebody called and said, hey guys, this is waste of time, energy and money. And then they said, okay, let's get the professional managers, and that's how I got in the story. But I mean, I'm meant to talk about this, but now, because other guy is supposed to start fairly soon, I'll cut it short. The whole idea, I mean, I hope to all of you who are, you know, having your own business, that you're going to the point that you're going to sell it, because I think that's the point. And I admire people who are serial entrepreneurs, because that's great. I mean, it's summoning the energy to have more than one company is, I think, something to look forward, not to just have one shot, you know. Because I nowadays, because I cannot organize my time, I mostly run by myself, and I run half marathons. You know, I admire the guys who run marathons. 100-meter dash, it's great. It takes a lot of steroids, but it's very short. So, you know, selling a company is okay. Starting all over again, it's okay. Selling out, as I said, is not bad. So I hope I gave you some insight of some topics that are ahead of you, and if you're thinking about, you know, setting a company, or if you are now working on something that can be commercialized, we are out there to cooperate with anyone in that sense. Let me give you my sales pitch. So if you have ideas and you want support, we can be maybe the company that you can work with. We are in a very, very broad field. We work with finance a lot, we work with telcos a lot. Obviously, we are from Balkans, so we work with public sector as well. We are trying very hard to work the private company, which is difficult because you know what the situation is in this vertical. We work in 5 countries around Serbia, beside these other 14 that through New Frontier we worked as well. And we try to do a lot of cool things. We have 5 people in our BI sector. We are now forming a group that is going to work on bots and this data mining, machine learning things. I do believe that this thing will commercialize very quickly, and then in 2-3 years we are going to see out there bots doing many different things. I don't know if what these guys said in a paper, 43% of today's professions are going to be annihilated by machines, but certainly a lot of things out there will be looking different in just 5 years, and we are trying to catch this wave, and I think we are well positioned because cost base here is not so high, and we have a lot of talented people. So I'm just trying to give you a taste of what we are looking in right now, beside the fact that, I don't know, we're finishing right now the whole software for treasury, where whole 750,000 of Serbian public officers will get money through our software, and I keep repeating to myself to get used to it because it scares the hell out of me. But we do a lot of complex, good stuff, and we look always for partners, so to use the stage to send this message. Hope didn't bore you the hell out of you. I hope I gave you something interesting to think about. Sales is not bad. Keep talking, and it's fine to sell out. Thank you.